I am very glad to introduce the guest of honor for this session of the Convocation, Mr. Heminda Nishan Jayaweera. Mr. Heminda Jayaweera holds a BSc Engineering degree from University of Moratuwa and an MBA in Management of Technology from the same university. He was the Chief Operating Officer of Slintech, the pioneer nanotech and advanced research facility in Sri Lanka. During his time, he spearheaded many technology commercializations, including graphene applications. He has worked for over a decade in Dialogue Asiata and Asiata Group, specializing in new product and innovation management. He has product innovation consulting experience in Malaysia, Bangladesh, and Cambodia. Mr. Jayaweera is an inventor and entrepreneur. He co-founded Gendo Innovations Private Limited, a biomedical engineering startup which has pending patents in US and Japan for a non-invasive medical device to identify cardiovascular diseases. He also co-founded Thuru, a green tech initiative which is focused on utilizing technology for accelerating reforestation. He is a director at Effective Solutions Private Limited, an IoT company which has offices in Japan and in UK. The company has developed IoT system for mini hydropower plants as well. Mr. Heminda, as a senior fellow in Innovation and Entrepreneurship of University of Moratuwa, started Mora Ventures, University of Moratuwa based startup incubator. During his tenure as head of Mora Ventures, it launched 30 startups within its first 2 years, and one startup reached a valuation of $1 million. Mr. Heminda Jayaweera is a seasoned trainer on design thinking and rapid prototyping for corporates. He has an Eisenhower Fellow in its 2020 global program. Currently, he is the CEO of Thuru, and the Director of Venture Frontier Lanka. Now, I cordially invite Mr. Heminda Jayaweera to deliver the Convocation address.
Thank you very much. Professor Tuli De Silva, Chancellor, Dr. Bowath, Vice Chancellor, Deans of the faculties, and all the members of the academic staff, and also the members of the non-academic staff, dear parents, and my dear graduates. So first of all, I thank you very much for the Wayamba University of Sri Lanka for inviting me on this very important day of your life. I know it's maybe the best day of your life so far in your life. So what I'm going to talk about today is a few pointers that will help your rest of your life. So 18 years ago, I was graduated from University of Moratuwa in a similar event like this. So it gives me a lot of fond memories. So let me give you some of my early life, some of the things that I did which helped me to where I am. So I think those pointers will help you as well. So when I entered University of Moratuwa, I had a few things that I wanted to achieve. Of course, when you enter university, you have the, of course, the full focus on your education, but I had a few other things also to achieve. So when I was at school, I never had the opportunity to do a sport at national level. So that was in back of my mind. I thought I want to achieve that at least during university time. Then also I had this real urge to do a performance in front of an audience, wherever, either a drama or whatever. So those are the two things that I wanted to achieve to a certain level above even the academic achievements. So next 4 years, my entire university life was actually focusing on that, which I achieved. So I joined the University of Moratuwa rowing team. In third year of my university time, I rowed for University of Moratuwa at the rowing nationals, and I even beat Sri Lanka Army rowing team as well. And then on the second year, I involved in the English Literary Association and in a lot of drama, and I had the opportunity to perform at the Lionel Wen, which is the pinnacle of performing arts. So that this urge for me to do different things, of course it took a lot of more of my time during my academic time. Some of the times the rowing practices is a very team game. We had to practice sometimes 6 days of the week. So but that experience that I achieved, and also the achievements that I achieved during those 2 years in my university life, third year and the second year, are the best achievements in my university life because that changed my entire way of thinking of how I look at life and what you need to achieve as a graduate. So this particular trend was continued when I joined my first job. Of course, I am talking about 2004. We never had this so-called entrepreneurship education or innovations that you had to do innovation. I am talking about 2004. So nobody was there at university to teach about those things. So as any other graduate, I also wanted to join one of the blue chip companies in Sri Lanka. So I applied in 2004. Just after graduation, I joined Dialog Asiata, which is for electronic engineering graduate, one of the best companies to work for. And so I joined Dialog, but my model of thinking that, even you are graduated, you have to understand what you know is very limited. There is a lot to be learned. Until you die, you will learn. So I knew that there are certain things that I don't know. For example, I had a fair knowledge about engineering, but I didn't know anything about marketing, which I knew. So what I did was, when I just started, of course the first year I was in the engineering department. After some time, I requested a few of the senior people at the organization and joined marketing department of Dialog. So this was a very interesting change because I didn't know anything about marketing. And when you move to an area that you don't know anything, what happens usually is that you have to work from the right beginning. So you are actually below the people who are working, even who didn't have any degrees. I had to learn from the very beginning. But knowingly or unknowingly, what I realized is that particular 6 months or up to about 1 year that I was at marketing department of Dialog was like a fast track MBA for me. Nobody gave me a degree at the end of that time, but I learned from the best of the practitioners. So my then the chief marketing officer was one of the best marketeers in Sri Lanka. I learned from her straight. I mean, it's one of the best practitioners. I learned marketing. It was like a fast track MBA for me within about 6 months. Then again, after some time, there was, you have this performance review meetings when you work for an organization. Every year you have to go through that. One of my supervisors, he was today none other than Supun Veerasinghe, Group CEO of Dialog. He told me that you have to be more assertive. You have to go more pushy. You are not pushing enough. So then I realized this. That's a weakness of mine. So I need to learn about be in a pushy character. You need to be more assertive. So what I realized is there is this department called project management. If you work for project managers has to set all the milestones. So maybe that's an area that you can learn on the job. So after marketing, I went back to another technical department. After some time, I joined project management department of Dialog, knowing nothing about project management. Then that 2 years, I got opportunity for 2 years. Those 2 years, I learned project management end to end. And at the end of the 2 years, I was actually setting timelines for even the group CEO, then Dr. Hans Vijay Surya. So that was the ultimate achievement if you want to achieve as a project manager. You are setting timelines even for the group CEO. So on the third year, I became the best project manager at Dialog. So since I moved into various departments, areas that usually I am not good at, that gave me a lot of confidence and lot of new areas that I never thought there is. For example, I had the chance to work in innovation projects, new product development projects. I started learning what is innovation, what kind of work that need to be done to take a product to the market, what sort of work that you have to do, think about it, because it's not about one area. Even you are an electronic engineer, I realized an electronic engineer with his knowledge cannot put a product to the market. If you look at your mobile phone, this is work of electronic engineers, software engineers, mechanical engineers, physicists, chemists, and on top of that you have the marketeers, business development, lawyers, customer service professionals. All this has to get together if you want to get into a real product marketing. So I realized that, I learned that. So what happened was, this tenure at various departments, I realized that there are a lot to be learned, and there are areas that really gave me a lot of focus. Especially one of the things that I learned is, this actually happened in 2014. I went through this some figures. This was actually published by Harvard University back in 2014. Sri Lanka's high-tech exports as a percentage of total export. The figure was around 1%. I'm talking about 2014. I know the figure even now, but it's the figure, not much of a change. But that figure, so what is high-tech? High-tech is usually pharmaceuticals, electronics, electricals, shipbuilding, car manufacturing, nanotechnology, biotechnology, all that. So whatever the products that we market from Sri Lanka to other countries, compared to all the other exports, it's about 1%. So this was not the issue. Then I went back researching few other years. I went back to 1970s. 1970s results was also about 1%. In 1970s, Sri Lanka's high-tech export as a percentage of total export was about 1%. Over a period of 45 years, nearly 2 generations of Sri Lanka, our high-tech export has not changed. It is still, if you look at the figure, it's about 1.8%, still at 1%. So this is the status of Sri Lanka. I know generations of engineers graduated, generations of scientists graduated, generations of graduates from various other fields graduated, but nothing has changed. But if you compare some of the other countries in the same period, for example, if you look at South Korea, in 1970s, their high-tech exports as a percentage of total export was about 8% or 9%, not too far from what Sri Lanka was. But today, I have the figures of 4 to 5 years ago, their high-tech exports about 42 to 45%. That means every dollar that they make out of exports, 42 to 45% comes from high-tech exports. If you look at Singapore, it's almost 50% now. So if you go to countries like, say, Thailand, they were actually behind Sri Lanka when it comes to 1960s and 1970s. Today, their high-tech exports as a percentage of total export is about 8%. A lot ahead of Sri Lanka. So what is the issue? And why high tech? Why do you want to focus on high tech? Now we are in a, I know you read news, what is happening in Sri Lanka. We talks about this whole issue of dollar crisis, right? We don't earn enough dollars, not enough dollars coming to the country, and we are heavily, there are a lot of debt as a country. All these are issues, but are they actually created by just politicians? So my view is it's not only politicians. I think we, all of us, are responsible for where we are. If you look at, say for example, in 1970s, we must have been selling simple products like tea, rubber and coconut, right? Even today, say if you sell, say 1 ton of or 1 pack of tea, the production cost may be about $100, and you might be earning about $110. I'm just giving you rough figures, right? And if you look at any other product, even cinnamon, right? Most of the cinnamon products going out of Sri Lanka is going as simple product, quills, right? And maybe very small percentage as oil, right? And rest of the value addition never happens. So your cost would be $100, but you are earning about $110. If you look at a bit more complex products in Sri Lanka, say apparels, maybe you are spending $150 and you are earning about $200. So there's a gap is higher. But if you go to high-tech products, what happens is, maybe you spend about $200, but you are earning $300. Your gap is bigger. So that is why we want to move out of this so-called middle income trap, or so-called the debt crisis, or so-called these issues that it's never happened within a short period of time. It has been there for a long period of time. But if you want to move out, the only way out is you have to get into high-tech exports. We need to start innovating. So if you look at Sri Lanka's innovation index, I don't know whether you have seen this, there's a lot of global innovation indices that you can identify where the country is. So one of the most famous one is known as GII, Global Innovation Index, done by one of the American universities and also a few other experts. Sri Lanka is now 104 out of 127 countries. So we are actually backbenchers when it comes to innovation. Right? It has not changed much also actually. About 10 years ago, we were about 90s. So we may be producing the best of graduates when it comes to maybe engineering, maybe medical, maybe accounting, maybe science. But when it comes to innovators, when it comes to real entrepreneurs, what our output is very low, especially from Sri Lankan universities. I think this is something we need to change. Why do we need innovators? Why do we need entrepreneurs? So what is the real definition of innovation? If I ask that question, a lot of people might say that innovators are the people who create new things. But actually the case is, to a certain extent is true, but it's not the complete answer. So the real definition of an innovator is someone who can create new thing and take that product to the market as well. So that's the part that a lot of people forget. Even if you have the patent, an international patent, still you can't call yourself an innovator unless you take that product to the market. So this is where we have been lacking. So I realized this, and I realized that, while I was at Dialogue, this is 2014-15, I wanted to move out of this corporate life. I want to be an innovator. But then what happens is, when you are working in a good company, getting a good salary, you have a very good insurance scheme, unlimited petrol, and you are being very spoiled. So moving out of Dialogue was not easy decision for me, because I knew I need to have some other income source. So I started thinking about various ways of doing it. I failed a couple of times, and then I saw this wonderful opportunity where I started helping a young undergraduate from University of Moratuwa, about 10 years younger to me, because this is now 10 years later. I graduated in 2004. I was at Dialogue 2014, about 10 years later. I supported this young entrepreneur, actually a team of entrepreneurs. They were like a co-founders. And one fine day they came to me and asked, now they are going to graduate, but they have a bit of an issue. When I graduated, we still don't have good customers. We are making some money, but that's not enough. We want to survive at least for 1 year until we get good projects. Can you invest in us? So this guy came and asked me. So I realized this is the opportunity for me to get into entrepreneurial world. So I started investing these guys. What I did was actually for the first 12 months, 6 to 12 months, I paid their salaries. That's it. So that was in 2014, late 2014. I would say we just started, they graduated in 2015. So 7 years later, today this company, of course, I got 20% of that organization for the money that I invested. Today we have 35 engineers working in this organization. 2021, our revenue was 100 million Sri Lankan rupees. So this is the story of a mid-tier Internet of Things company in Sri Lanka. So today we do projects even at Port City and a lot of other organizations. We have a Japanese client. We have an office in UK as well. So that was my starting point. I started investing. I realized that company is progressing really fast, and then in 2016 I moved out of Dialogue and became a full-time entrepreneur. So that was the starting point of kind of a roller coaster journey for me. I never realized there are so much of opportunities until I leave my corporate life. And I started 3 other startups after that. One, Gendo Innovation, it's I think it was described as well before that. So we actually got the US patent about 6 months ago. We have tested about 1,000 patients now, and we are ready to take the product to the market. It's a cardiovascular testing device. You can identify your entire cardiovascular health with a 15 minutes non-invasive test, and we are almost ready to get the Japanese patent as well. So that we started in 2017. Now we are ready to go to market. Of course, we are in the process of getting NMRA approvals. Then I started an organization called Thuru, which we have planted about 100,000 trees at the moment. And our new mobile technology, we got an award in 2020 as one of the best mobile applications for climate change at MWC, which is known as the Oscars for mobile telecommunication industry. Then very recently in 2019, I started an organization called Zero Trash, which we started a solution for the plastic problem in Sri Lanka. Now we run a 10-ton facility at Bollaskamuwa. This is the only facility where we work on a model that you can collect plastic and send it to recycling at break-even pace. So nowhere in Sri Lanka there is a facility which runs without incurring cost at the end of the operation, because we are talking about a very small value addition. We are just collecting plastic and giving it to recyclers. So we are the collectors. It was actually started by my co-founder, who also left his job, a very good white-collar job, and became a garbage collector just to learn the trade. Today he runs a 10-ton facility, and we are ready to set up another 5 facilities in Colombo and the region. So this is what happened ever since 2016 when I moved out of my corporate life. And then I was invited by University of Moratuwa to support as a consultant for their startups, and from 2017 to 2019 I was there as a consultant, and that 2-year period I managed to launch about 30 startups. And 3 of the startups today, I can very happily say, combined staff strength of those 3 companies are about 100. All 3 companies above $1 million valuation, and some of the companies are trying to move out of Sri Lanka as well. And then in 2019, I was invited to Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology, where I was there as the Chief Operating Officer. There was no CEO during that time, so I was head of the organization, and we managed to transform the organization in a different way. I didn't do anything spectacular. I didn't want to do, more than the research. My focus was to make sure that we go into so-called design thinking model. So up to 2008 from 2008 to 2018, Slimtech had done about 300 research projects and commercialized only 6 projects. But that's usually the case when you go for very high tech as well. But during my 2 years, we managed to launch 12 new products and take it to the market. So what I did simply was bringing that design thinking methodology into the entire organization, and we could look at the high tech innovations in a different way. So that was up to 2021 I was there. Now I moved out after 2-year period. But what really brought me this innovation is a lot of new learnings. And I mentioned you that innovators and entrepreneurs are the engine of growth. I will explain that to you in a very few calculation. Maybe you can also check these figures. Now you are graduating today. I know almost all of you are now looking for jobs, or maybe some of you have already got jobs. So how much of salary that you are looking for? What is your expectation or a salary? Let's say that you are expecting 100,000 salary at the start, and maybe after 5 years you want 200,000 salary. Maybe after another 10 years you become like a manager or a head of the department, you are earning now 500,000 salary. Another 10 years later, maybe you are earning 1 million per month, because now you are the CEO or the CTO of one of the big organizations. So what happens if you add up all this up to say 30 years? Now I know all the graduates, I am talking about the basic degree. I know there are masters and PhDs also here, but if you look at the basic degree, usual graduate is about 22, 23 age, that limit, right? So you have roughly about 30 years of time in your working life. I mean, of course, you can work after 55, no issue, but I'm just giving you a figure. Say you can work 30 years until your retirement. And if you add up all that figures that I mentioned, right, 100,000 first 5 years, 200,000 next 15 years, next 10 years. So likewise, if you add all that, it will come to about a figure less than 200 million Sri Lankan rupees. Just take a calculator and add up, and I try to understand the figure. It's less than 200 million. If you divide that by 200 rupees, it's less than $1 million US. So this is what a professional can earn over a period of lifetime. But remember, I was talking about few innovators coming out from Sri Lankan universities just like you. After 3 years of their operation, they started something, they innovated something, came up with a product, took it to the market, and within 3 years, they created an industry or an organization which is valued more than $1 million US. So this is why you call innovators and entrepreneurs are the engine of growth of a country. Professionals also can do that, but it takes a long time. What professionals achieve in 30 years, innovators can achieve in 3 years. So this is why we need more innovators, more entrepreneurs from Sri Lankan universities to change this country, the situation that we are right now. But you can't do it overnight. If you want to become an innovator, I'm talking to all the graduates, you have already passed the best time to become an innovator. If you want to become an innovator, the best time in your life is your university time. Because that's the time that you have the most energy, both physically and mentally. And you are free from all the other issues. I mean, there are still university students have issues, but if you compare to the issues that you are now going to face when you start working, when you get married, when you get in a lot of other things, you will realize that your university life is much free time. So if you haven't done anything on innovations, you have lost the best period of your time. to do innovations. But don't worry, now you are starting the second best time for innovations. If you don't do anything now, you will never do anything even until your retirement. Even after retirement, nothing will happen. Because innovation is a difficult game. You can't create innovations just like this. It takes a lot of perseverance, dedication, a lot of your time and commitment. So start giving that commitment right now. But I am not asking you, every one of you, to become entrepreneur. That is impossible. But at least if you try today, some fine day, every one of you can become an innovator. So that's what happened to me as well. I was never an entrepreneur at the start of my career. But I'm talking about 18 years later, I'm talking about all the things that I did. But if you start now, you can become one of the innovators as well. But you have to start now. Start thinking about very few things that you have to understand. Innovations cannot be achieved as an individual. No matter you are the best engineer in particular field, still you can't become innovator. As I mentioned, even to make this mobile phone, you need a lot of other people. So teamwork is the game. Again, teamwork also not the same type of people. You need to have people from different walks of life getting together as a team. That diversity is very important. If you take that as a concept, if you start learning new things, the same way that I did. As an engineer, I moved into marketing, I moved into other areas just to learn. And you will realize there are a lot of opportunities out there. So very important, what you have to do is, I know everyone can't do entrepreneurs overnight, but when you join an organization, start learning the things that you don't know. Start learning about marketing if you haven't done it at the university time. Start learning, very important. If you want to be an innovator, entrepreneur, marketing is a must-learn subject. No matter how good at you doing product designing, you come up with a product, if you can't market the product that you make, you can never become an innovator. So start learning marketing, start learning project management, start learning business development. Be a general guy. At least learn general things. That will help you. So one of the best things that you can do is, since you are going for jobs very soon, more than the job, more than the company, find a good mentor and start working under that person. No matter the company, don't look at for big companies, even a small company, if you can see a good mentor who can guide you in the next 3 to 4 years and learn a lot from that person, start working under that person. This is not what I am saying, but some of the best entrepreneurs are also saying the same story. Then your first 3 to 4 years will be like a fast track MBA or a PhD, and you will learn a lot of things under this person. So after that, once you learn certain things, once you are very mature in certain areas, then you can decide to move out and become an entrepreneur or innovator on your own. So that's the big message that I want to tell you, especially on this very important day of your life. Don't ever think that Sri Lanka is not the place for you. I know there's a lot of sentiments going around, a lot of people trying to leave this country. Don't ever think of that. There is no better country than Sri Lanka if you know what to do and whom to know. It is a land of opportunities. I realized that I recently got this Eisenhower Fellowship. This is one in a lifetime opportunity. I was selected out of 20, the cohort was about 20 out of 102 countries. I got an opportunity to go to USA for a couple of months and meet some of the people I couldn't even meet in Sri Lanka. For example, the governors of USA to politicians to all that. And that particular cohort, there were the 20 odd people in that cohort. We had about some politicians from Philippines, there's a politician from Argentina, there's a politician from Romania. So I was representing Sri Lanka, and there were some very good entrepreneurs. And out of that cohort, I won only 2 awards that you can win from the cohort, and I became one of the best 2 in that particular cohort. So what really they saw was as a small country, the things that you can do, if you really focus on, there are so much of opportunities. You need to find those opportunities, understand that there are a lot of things that you don't know, start learning those things, and very soon you will realize that Sri Lanka is a land of opportunities. So thank you very much. That's my message for you everyone who is graduating today. Thank you Wayamba University for giving me this opportunity. Make sure that at least one of you will become an innovator very soon and help Sri Lanka to move out of this so-called issues that we have and help Sri Lanka towards a developed country. Thank you very much. Thank you.